Hello and welcome back to another Dram 1 review, and today we'll be having a look at the Westward Stout Cask. But not just any Westward, festival bottling for WTF in Utrecht. Yes, like I said, the Westward Stout Cask. We'll be reviewing that today, and it's a special bottling. It's a bottling specifically made for the WTF Festival in Utrecht, which is co-hosted by a dear friend of mine, Norbert de Bart from Whisky for All. Shout out to him. And he gives amazing tastings. He focuses a lot on American whiskies because he believes that it's a very underrated category here in the Netherlands, and I have to agree with him. We mainly focus on Scotch, maybe some Irish, maybe some world whiskies, and like we'd say in Dutch, het ondergeschoven kindje, which is not going to mean anything to you in English, and if I translate it, it sounds horrible. But anyway, long story short, this is a thing here in the Netherlands. We don't see a lot of bourbon. It's growing. We're getting more and more, but I believe it's a shame that there's not much available. Why? Because I personally love a good bourbon. There's so much more out there. Often enough, bourbon is judged here on the merits of the standard Jack Daniels or the standard Jim Beam. And that's like judging Scotch by a standard Red Label or Irish by Jameson. There's much more to be found. And American distilleries, there are so many of them now. I think it's over 2,000 different ones that you can find. There is so much more to explore, and it doesn't all have to be bourbon either. This, for example, is a single malt finished in stout casks. Now that sounds like my cup of tea. What makes this different from their standard stout cask, which Westward also has, is, well, it's a single barrel selection, which is a concept we're not very familiar with in the Netherlands, to be honest. In America you have store picks. They select a barrel and then they buy that barrel, they can bottle it, and that way you get a single cask which is hand selected and might be, like we know from other whiskies, each barrel is a bit different, so there's nuances between them. Here we do have independent bottlings, but we don't have store picks. Essentially this is a festival pick, so it's kind of like a store pick but a bit different. It has 4% more ABV than the standard version, and yeah, well, it's a single barrel, so it will always be a bit different. But you can see from the nice steel label, you can see what it was labeled for, and that this was in fact bottle 63. Like I said, 50% ABV, 100 proof. For any Americans that might be watching, good to know. And yeah, I wanted to include this because, one, the festival itself is amazing. It is one of my favorite festivals in the Netherlands. It's a very different setting from the usual festival. It takes a bit longer, you have a bit more time to talk and get to know, and there's plenty of interesting stands. In fact, it's where I got to know Tone from Hogshead, which we've already seen in the Explorer's Pack. Now with my Explorer's Pack, because just like Norbert, I believe that American whiskey deserves a bit more attention, I will always include 3 Scottish whiskies, 1 Irish, which we had with the Dingle, 1 American and 1 world whiskey. Now this is the American whiskey. Now that sometimes might be bourbon, but how fun is it to start off with a single malt? Like come at people from an unexpected corner somewhat. I like giving a bit of surprise. And yeah, the stout cask, it had a profound influence on this dram. I always find it immediately on the nose, which I'm saying before nosing, but know from experience. So when I'll be nosing the glass later, I'll say like, oh, stout. Anyway, what I like about it most is that it is dark and intense. This is best described as a whiskey. Before I even start tasting, nosing, I will tell you this. This is for people who like espressos over coffee. It's for people who like extra dark chocolate over milk chocolate. It's intense, it's dark, but it's wonderful. And for people that like darker flavors, this is a treat to find. Anyway, like I said before, I'm going to act very surprised now. Oh, it smells like stout cask. Yeah, but that stout is really, really noticeable on the nose. It is. But there's also a lot of, but sweetness in there. There is brown sugar, especially, or cane sugar, actually. Yeah, cane sugar, I would say. A bit of powdered sugar as well. A lot of sugar notes, I know. It's just, yeah, very nice, dark, intense. I'm getting some cacao powder as well. Some dark chocolate already. Some freshly brewed espresso. Lovely. Let's have a sip. Oh, there's a... this is so complex. It really is. There's that stout. Once again, you can clearly find it. It's like, especially in the finish, by the way, that's when, at the first moment of the finish, is when you really get that stout flavor. But this is kind of like walking in a brewery. That kind of sounds like real intense. Anyway, but there's a lot of sweetness when you first take a sip. It's honey that covers everything. Honey and, yeah, I would almost say a bit of white chocolate actually, even though I was just announcing that it had all these dark flavors. But it does. It really does. There's some nuts in there as well. Especially walnuts, pecans come to mind. But there is so much coffee. There's so much dark chocolate as well. Like, you know, the dark little chocolate coffee beans, those are there plenty, and it just shows how much different nuances you can find in American whiskey. It's not all bourbon. This is a completely different product, and yeah, it is intense. There's even a little bit of a sour note to it. I'm gonna go back actually, because let's have a smell first again. Because now I'm picking up on some banana actually. That's new for me even. I didn't pick up on that before. But I want to go back to the taste because there was so much to explore. Yeah, it's almost out of control. And I mean that in the best possible way. It takes you on a ride. It's loud, it's intense. It's very American in that way, and I don't mean that negatively, but it gets in your face, and it is those dark, intense flavors like hazelnuts. Dark chocolate covered hazelnuts is what I'm finding most now, and that is lovely. Would I call it the best whiskey in the lineup? No, but it's not my favorite, but it's great that it's in there, you know, because if you like those darker flavors, I know so many people that don't appreciate the lighter spirit or don't appreciate the peated spirit. And what is there if you don't like those things? Yeah, the sherry bomb. But there's another route you can go. This is completely different from those things, and maybe if you try this, if you don't like the other kind of whiskeys, maybe you'll find, hey, this is lovely. This is like dark chocolate covered marzipan or whatever. This is completely different than what you're used to from whiskey. And if you're not into whiskey, give this a try. If you are into whiskey, also give this a try, because it's just a flavor profile that you don't get very often. It's very unique, and I think it's a lovely experience. So thank you very much for joining me. If you like the episode, please give a thumbs up, a like, or share. and check out dramon.com for more reviews, etc. Just let's dramble on together. Slàinte mhath.